Hi, I'm Michael Ruger. I'm the managing partner at Greenbush Financial Group. The SBA recently released some guidance on the ability to pay bonus compensation to employees and have those amounts qualify for forgiveness under the PPP loan program. So what they ruled was, as long as you pay the bonuses to your employees, they can count as comp towards the forgiveness, but you are not allowed to pay bonus comp to any owner of the company. Otherwise, those amounts will not count towards forgiveness for the PPP program. The reason why this bonus ruling is important is, in order to have your loan fully forgiven, you need to spend at least 75% of your Paycheck Protection loan on payroll costs. And the reality is, for a lot of small business owners, they got the PPP loan, let's say on April 17th, but they were slower to actually getting their employees back on payroll to maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. So they missed a window to really pay them payroll over that full 8-week covered period. So now they're looking for ways to kind of get their payroll expenses up to a point where they reach that 75% threshold. And these bonuses may be a way that in that last pay period of the covered 8-week period that they can give employees that compensation needed to reach the threshold. Now there are limits, because you can't just issue an employee a $30,000 bonus and have that full amount count towards the 75% of payroll costs. Each employee is limited to $15,385 of comp during that covered period. Now that doesn't necessarily include the cost for their health insurance or retirement contributions. It's just straight gross comp, but just be aware of that limit when you're issuing the bonuses. Now, before you jump the gun and start issuing bonuses to employees to really ramp up to get to that 75% threshold amount, if you are in week 6 of your 8-week covered period, you might want to hold off until that final week, because we're still waiting on additional guidance from the SBA. And there's even some talk behind the scenes that they may potentially extend that 8-week covered period to maybe a 12 or 16 week. So if all of a sudden I issue all these bonuses in week 6 of my covered period, and all of a sudden they extend the covered period for longer, I'm going to kick myself, because I would have rather used that money on normal payroll costs over the next 12 or 16 weeks. So it might be better just to wait a little longer. So logistically, there's some things you need to think about if you're going to wait until the 11th hour to issue these bonuses to employees. So you really have to work with your payroll company, because if I'm a bi-weekly payroll and my 8-week covered period ends in the middle of one of my bi-weekly pay schedules, I might have to say, hey, payroll company, I'm going to issue a 1-week payroll, a special payroll period, just so I'm issuing and getting this comp out and paid during my 8-week covered period. The other option is, when the SBA released their forgiveness application a week ago, they offered something called an alternative payroll covered period. Now, the way this works is, if I got my SBA loan, let's say on April 17th, and that started my 8-week period, by claiming that alternative payroll covered period, that allows me, for payroll cost purposes alone, to calculate my payroll costs on the first payroll date following when I received the PPP loan. So if my first payroll date was May 1st, after that April 17th period, that's what I get to count, which makes it easier, because now I've got full payroll periods to work with when I'm working through the PPP forgiveness application and costs. But you also have to exercise caution with issuing these bonuses. So if you're one of those employers that received the PPP loan, you're essentially attesting that you needed that money to sustain operations of the business and keep everyone at full payroll. If you didn't reduce headcount, didn't reduce wages, but then all of a sudden you start issuing bonuses to employees that in past years you have never issued, and their comp is actually going to be higher this year than it was in previous years, if you're ever audited, that could be one of those items that they look at and say, did you really need this money because you issued these bonuses that weren't necessarily there before? So be careful. Now, we expect the SBA to come out with more guidance. It's probably going to trickle in, hopefully over the course of the next few days, weeks. So we will issue additional videos as that guidance comes out. So feel free to subscribe so we can keep you up to date. Also, below in the description of the video, I'm going to include a link to our video which actually goes through the Paycheck Protection Program forgiveness application, which will give you some more information on that piece. So feel free to look at that video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at moneysmartboard.com. Thank you.